Hey guys, and welcome back to our DC Films podcast. This is episode 7, and this week there's no real big topic of discussion. We are going to be talking about what we might be expecting from the DCEU in the future, and what to expect in the films and the stories. But other than that, there's going to be just a general discussion about the DCEU and our thoughts on it. So you guys can go ahead and reintroduce yourselves to the group for everyone who's listening.
Hey everyone, my name is Artyom and I'm Grey Konglau on Tumblr.
I'm Jean, I'm Pet Activity on Tumblr.
Hi, I'm Lily, I'm from Lily Loves Comics on Tumblr.
Hi, I'm Katie, I'm Story Advocate on Tumblr.
Alright, and there's someone else who's going to be joining us hopefully soon. She's fat enough. She's Stay Awesome Gotham on Tumblr, so I'll throw that little plug in there for when she comes in. Yeah, she's having some technical difficulties, so hopefully she'll be joining us soon. But thank you guys again for joining us, and especially after last week's episode, which ran 2.5 hours.
Hey, that was awesome.
I didn't realize it was that long.
I was like, if I didn't have to work, I would have kept going. Honestly.
I know.
I was like,
Yeah,
this
I'm
is
so
short.
sad to
We're
have
only
missed that.
discussing a 4-minute trailer. Oh,
God,
never mind.
it's funny because once we were done, I'm like, oh, that was only 2.5 hours. That wasn't that bad. And I look at all of our other episodes, they're only like an hour and a half. I'm like, oh.
This is twice as long.
Yeah.
Get excited.
It's about it was about as long as Man of Steel.
Exactly. It's the longest movie. It's fun.
Yeah. So again, so this would be a general discussion. If there's anything you guys specifically want to talk about, you guys can go right ahead.
I don't know. Oh, sorry. Go ahead.
I just wanted to get something out of my chest. I just hope that Justice League will end without Justice League knowing about Darkseid yet. I just hope that, I want that because I hope that in their future solo movies they won't be bothered by this a third party trouble and they will be concentrated on their problems alone. So I just hope that Darkseid will be still a secret for them till the Justice League 2.
In terms of story writing, it would make good sense because they ended BVS with Bruce being very aware that there's a threat and that he needs to prepare. And so to end like that again would kind of feel like repetition, and typically they like to shake things up a little bit and not repeat the same thing over and over again. And so it would honestly make good sense for it to end on a great note. Everybody thinks they're cool, and then the next movie comes around and they're like, oh wait, there's a worse guy. Crap, and that would be really cool. So.
It also allowed Justice League to follow maybe the more traditional story format a bit, with it ending on a definitively positive note. Because, I mean, if you look back on the way all the other DC movies have been structured, it's been a bit different. We don't usually end with the heroes being heroes, and maybe if this is going to be the great conclusion, I guess, to the Superman's arc, then I think it would be really good if it ended that way, just getting a moment to be heroes before the Darkseid stuff kicks in.
I agree. I completely agree.
Yeah.
Got disconnected. Sorry, I got disconnected.
Oh no, it's fine. I know we were worried for a second. It's fine. Thanks for joining us.
Oh, sorry. Are we on to record now?
Yeah. We already started. So we're kind of just talking about like what we're expecting from the DC movies moving forward.
No. The only thing that really bothered me with the announcements, and I think I've told you guys this, is the fact that they didn't announce any director for The Flash.
Yeah, or Flashpoint. Yeah.
Wait, who is it? Sorry, I didn't see this news.
Well, no, they haven't announced anyone. That was the
Yeah,
the
they've
thing.
announced that they're doing
Yeah,
Flashpoint.
Flashpoint,
They've announced the movie, but we're still like, so who's gonna direct that?
Yeah, and that's why
Yeah.
and last week I brought up like if Zach were to come in and do it, that would be so hilarious and awesome at the same time.
I want him to do it.
Me
but
too.
I-
And especially because we talked about this last week too, was like Flashpoint is DC's one of their darkest stories, and I think Zach, for everyone giving him such flack for being a dark and greedy director, that would be one of the movies that suits him most.
Yeah.
Like
Kind
That
of
would be
big
really
stuff.
interesting.
and plus the way he directed Ezra in Justice League and the visual effects and all that, to me, I love what he's done so far, and I can't wait to have him come back into the DCU whenever he's ready. And I think Flashpoint would be, one of the better movies to come in and do. Like, I would love him to come back for Justice League or Man of Steel 2 once they do those, but Flashpoint ending for me, if it's going to end up rebooting the DCEU in any way, I think it'd be appropriate for Zack to kind of come in and be the one who does it.
That would be hilarious, honestly, because everybody's like, oh, now we can finally get rid. Oh, man. So,
No, you're not ready yet.
well, all through the DCEU so far, though, we've consistently discussed how everybody wants to accuse it of being dark, gritty, and depressing, and all the, murderverse and all that ridiculous crap.
Yep.
And we consistently see the hope, the silver lining, the light that is found in that darkness. There's a reason these movies are shaped the way that they are, and Flashpoint's very much a story like that. I mean, it is about loss and sacrifice and really hard things, but at the same time, it shouldn't be just an amazing downer that's nothing else. And so Zack, would be a great choice to kind of be able to find that, light and be able to reflect it back. It would be really cool. And honestly, this is just a random weird thought I'm chucking out there because they had a couple other directors chosen that have moved on and stuff. So I'm not saying it was this way from the start, but maybe part of the reason why they're not announcing a director is because they're waiting for Zack to decide if he wants it.
Maybe,
or not.
yeah, that's definitely a good point.
They said when he took his break, they said right there that they were reserving certain things for him to look at first before they offered them to others. They were giving him the option to look at it and go, no, I can't do it, and pass before they handed it to somebody else, and maybe that's what's happening. But that could also just be entirely conjecture on my part. So.
No, yeah, and that very well could be the case. And obviously, Warner Brothers has been so supportive of Zack throughout this whole entire situation.
Which is great, yeah.
Yeah, and I still feel so bad for the guy, and that's why, like, all the articles and stuff that came out after Comic-Con saying, like, oh, Joss Whedon is the one you should thank for that new Justice League trailer. I'm like, are you serious?
Shut
like,
up. That has nothing to do with
I can't believe
at
it's
all.
like, wow, you're obviously not that good of a film student, critic, person, observant, because that trailer was so Zack Snyder, wasn't it?
It was, yeah.
I was like, oh, look, it's Zack. Like, he was stamped all over that thing.
Yeah. And that's what, like, I don't believe any of the rumors or whatever that was saying, like, Josh is coming in and reshooting 60% of the movie. Like, first of all, that would cost Warner Brothers so much more money, and they're already spending $25 million on Henry Cavill's mustache alone. That whole situation, I just think is so hilarious.
It's hilarious.
I'm just laughing at that because it's like, wow, Henry can really grow a beautiful mustache. I mean,
Yeah.
that sucker's like not tiny. So, it is going to take some serious work to edit it out. The director weighed in of Mission Impossible 6.
Yeah.
I mean, honestly, there's no other way to do this except that he just grows it. We can't put it on, a fake one on him unless we just use a staple gun. Like, it's... And then Henry came on and addressed it, and I just laughed because he's just, I don't know.
You're just having fun with it.
He has such a great sense of humor, and he just kind of rolls with things, and it was so nice to see him come and go, this is actually, the big villain of everything, and both studios are working together to try to take it out, and, like, it's not a question of whether or not I should shave it, and so I laughed a lot. It was like, that's, this is what happens, and sometimes, I'm not saying that anything like this is going to come out of it, because in the end, they just have to edit out the mustache, but, like, Top Gun, if anybody remembers, way back in the 80s, like, it had one of the most, famous kind of epic love scenes that anybody had ever seen, because it was filmed in, like, a silhouette with Tom Cruise and Kelly McGillis and a blue light in the background. Well, the reason that is that way is specifically because they were done shooting. She moved on to film Witness and colored her hair brown for the role because they were Amish. And then they called her back to reshoot this love scene because whatever they had wasn't working, and she had brown hair. And they couldn't change it blonde again. And so they went, okay, we'll go ahead and mask it, disguise it, and we'll just film it like this with a nice blue in the background. You just get the silhouettes, and I guess that'll work. Sure, that'll work. And that's what people, besides, I mean, it was a good movie, but that is the love scene that, like, people were like, wow, what an interesting choice. Isn't that fascinating? What cool artistic direction. But it just was born out of necessity.
Yeah.
And so sometimes in the end, this is what happens with films. Actors move on. They have contracts. They're trying to get a job. They're doing business. And then it's like, wait, no, we need this. Crap. And then they have to work around certain things. In the film version of Annie way back when, like, Carol Burnett had chin surgery, had plastic surgery to like give her a chin because she never really felt like she had one. And then they called her back to redo an entire musical piece, and she's like, I have a chin now. Is that going to be a problem? You know? And they were like, well, I guess we'll just have to wing it, you know? And in the end, nobody really noticed. But it is. This happens all the time. So for all the doom and gloom ridiculousness out there trying to paint this as, no, it's a disaster, Justice League is doomed. It's like, really? Have you never been in the movie industry before? Like, I mean, I'm not even in the industry, and I get this. Like, come on, guys.
Yeah, and it's funny. Like,
please just stop trying to look for the end of the world.
Yeah, and especially like I studied film for a while in school, and like it was it was like last year when my final project I had to do my own short film, and I wrote it, shot it, and edited it all within the course of 48 hours. And the day it was due, an hour before it was due, I was filming pickup shots because I felt like my story wasn't complete if I didn't have a couple more scenes. And I did that last minute because it added more to my story and the story I was trying to tell. It was little moments, but it was stuff that I needed to complete my vision and complete my story. And my story, I think, would have been less complete if those weren't there. And it's not a matter of like, oh my like obviously like it's a 5-minute short film from a college student compared to like a $250 million superhero movie. But at the same time,
still your story. You know, and
so
you're right.
People just don't understand how like filmmaking works. It's not a matter of like they're reshooting the entire thing. It's just the whole thing is them. They're just trying to again add more to the story, flesh things out a little more, and that was already in the budget for WB from the start. Granted, the mustache wasn't in the budget necessarily, but that's just,
it happens. Yeah. They spent a fair amount of time digitaling out, or using digital and taking care of like Harry Potter's acne. When Dan had it really bad during some of the filming of certain films because he's going through puberty. And so it's just part of the deal. This is what you end up with, and this is what happens when you're in a visual medium. Like I can write a story and then later be like, oh my gosh, wait, no, it's not complete unless I need to change this, I need to tweak this, I need to add a little bit here. But that's easy. I bring up my Word program and I go in there and change it. Mm-hmm. But when you're in a visual media, then it's okay, so it's time to go back and do pickups, and you're right, that's exactly it. The story forms itself and shapes itself, and then you realize what's missing a little bit later, but it's a visual media, so there's a little bit more hiccup and issue with going back to get it, but it's doable, and you just have to work around problems.
Do you know how some actors that don't want to fully cut their hair, just to put a bald cap, could they not do that and hide it in that way and then smooth it out? I'm sure it's easier than taking the whole mustache out.
Mm-hmm.
Do you know what I mean?
Improve a bald cap for a lip, though. That would be. I think it would alter.
I don't know how you would put a bald cap on a lip. I mean, I can understand where you're coming from. Like maybe just sort of trim the mustache so it's easier to obscure. I don't know, with prosthetics or something. But I mean, if they can afford to remove it with CGI, it'd be a lot easier than just having a awkward patch job with the mustache.
Yeah.
It's just a challenge either way, but.
Yeah, I mean, the whole situation is kind of bizarre, because we don't usually hear instances of this usually, but because it's Justice League and because it's Superman, it's such a huge deal, and because there's already so much, negative publicity towards the DCEU that they're kind of using this kind of, fan the flames, but,
Exactly. They just pounce. They want to pounce and claim doom and doom on everything, because that's how they get clicks.
But at least, with this story, everyone's kind of like, oh, come on, it's funny more than in anything else. I haven't seen very many people saying, oh my god, the movie is doomed because they're focusing so much on the mustache. It's everyone's like, oh, come on, this is a little ridiculous.
Yep. I gotta say, I just laughed when, even the fandom got excited, and just laughed about it instead of getting upset, and, who was that went through and put mustaches on everybody else?
Yep,
and,
the Mustache League.
And I laughed, I was like, thank you.
It's taking the situation,
and then the rest of them are like, just leave it, man. It's fine, we'll
we won't care.
We'll have without, it doesn't matter. Just leave it there. So it was nice to just have some fun with it.
Nobody was making any news when Gal Gadot was making additional shooting while being pregnant.
Exactly. That's also a good point. When she was shooting Wonder Woman and being pregnant, movie studios, big ones like this, they have to deal with this stuff all the time. So for them granted, like for this one, it's a kind of a different story, but like they're used to situations like this all the time, where like you have to come in and do certain things, or like something happens in the actor's life and you have to adjust. That's just the way filmmaking goes, and I think just some outlets just. Again, it's all about clicks, so they aren't reporting it as news. They're reporting it because they want money for their website, and that's
it's sensationalism in the end. That's all it is. Just sensationalism is, oh my gosh, to get those clicks. It's basically a tabloid, attempt, and it's like it's kind of embarrassing because it is. It's yellow journalism. It's not true, actual news reporting. It's basically, you're just the internet tabloids. Well done, guys. So.
Yeah, so...
regarding additional shooting, people act like, no, it's just being alone. It's like people forgot that when they announced what happened, Zack Snyder was supposed to do this additional shooting. Due to the tragedy, he had to let to do this and just so this additional shooting will keep the next vision, but it seems like people forget about this and talk about like Joss Whedon is going to save the movie and make it its own.
Yeah, and Joss Whedon only did 20 minutes worth of extra footage anyway.
Yeah, and
that's
the reshoots were minimal.
And even like Ray Fisher is like, hey, like it's really not that much. Like that. A lot of the team members are already kind of done with their shooting. It wasn't as much as people are thinking. Yet people start saying like, oh, they're reshooting the movie because Wonder Woman was such a success, and now they're focusing more on Wonder Woman. But like, obviously, you didn't pay attention to Batman vs Superman in the first few trailers when Wonder Woman was already a huge focus. So they aren't really changing.
They put her so far in the front, it wasn't even funny. You're right. It's like, oh, but now they're totally. And it was like, no, she's always been there.
No,
nice try though.
People need to pay attention.
Yeah, well, and then the reshoots, like, everybody's like, oh, look at the time involved, but they seem to be assuming that everybody's filming reshoots. All of them, they're together from beginning to end, and it's like, that's not the way that works, guys.
No, it's based on the actors' schedules and their availability.
Here, but we need them for a small scene, so okay, we'll wait until they have a break over here 2 weeks from now, 3 weeks from now, a month from now, and then bring them in, Meanwhile, this other person is available, so we're going to bring them in because they don't need to be together, and then, and it's just a lot of higgledy-piggledy trying to get them in, and so it takes months, but the combined time is like, a week or two. Like, it's not that big because in the end they're working around the availability of the actors because they have to, and it's kind of embarrassing. I swear. I'm just gonna start making up my own headlines. I'm gonna start my own website, make up my own headlines, and it'll be like, BVS makes this many millions of dollars. Is it doomed? And outsells all other DVDs. The DCEU is over. And, I'm just gonna start putting out kind of ridiculous, retarded stuff like that. Wonder Woman is the hit of the summer. DCEU is over. I guess I'm gonna have to just start doing that to keep up with these fools.
Yeah, and it's sad because that's exactly how they sound too. They're like, is Wonder Woman's success an indicator of the DCEU not being able to tell good stories? It's like, just stop.
Yeah. Or my favorite, they've got another director because, Zach can't direct anything and wasn't going to direct everything, like he wasn't going to direct every single movie in the DCEU. Holy crap, he's totally out. He's out on his ear. They have thrown him out. Holy crap, look at all this news. And
it feels like they're pushing him out as well. It's like, can you guys just let him stay? It's really horrible how they
treat him. Yeah, it's the worst.
Yeah, it's really, really horrible. Like, I sit there and read the headlines and what people are saying. Just like, he's literally gone through the death of his own daughter, and he's had so much to deal with, and he deals with the vitriol that you guys come out with on a daily basis.
And is that fair?
And then he has his family stuff going on as well. And then you see and hear what people say about him and make fun about him. I'm just like, you are horrible people, and I'm glad that you do not belong to the DC Cinematic fandom base or whatever it is. It makes me feel like I love Zack Snyder, but now I'm like fully defending him. I feel like I'm his mother or his like not well.
Yeah,
we all
feel that way now. Yeah, it's like, excuse you, you're not allowed. No,
Yeah, actually having a conversation with my friend about Zach. I'm like, they act like he's the worst director of time. I'm like, have you seen Michael Bay? Please. His movies are awful.
Well, and there are some out there that are truly bad people, you know, and you know, here's just this nice guy trying to make movies, and holy crap, he is the Antichrist, and you know, it's just
God, he's so bad.
And people swear that like he ruins their lives, and he's just a guy trying to make movies that people enjoy.
And,
like,
I'm sorry his movies burned your crops, you know. I'm so sorry his movies killed your children, and come on, get some perspective, guys.
Have you seen him in like interviews? He's such a nice and soft person.
Yeah. And
Really, really nice person. And then I remember him back on DC film when they were doing the interviews and the reviews just hit. I think he was in London. It was after I think it was during the sad Batman. Sad
gosh.
Batman.
Yeah.
And then he was just like sad. He was to an angle, and then the reporters kept pouncing him about the bad reviews and whatnot. And then I felt I could hear him and his voice and the way he was about to fully break, and I was just like, I really hate you for asking that. The people are enjoying the movie and it's doing really well, and it's just like, he's such a nice person as well outside of the directing.
Have you seen,
he does not deserve that.
All of the
That really broke me. Every time I see that interview, I'm just like, no, just can you guys stop treating him in that way?
Yeah, it's so unfair, and it's like, especially because so many actors and actresses who have worked with him have said he's one of the best like directors to work with on a just a strictly work level, and people are just like, oh, the productions of this and how it's awful and all this. It's like, well, Zach is one of the most supportive directors for his actors. Like, he helped Emily Browning stay with acting. Like, she was about, and Gal Gadot too with Wonder Woman. Like, she was about ready to give up, and then she got Wonder Woman partial thanks to Zach. And same thing with Emily Browning. And it's like they don't run those stories in the media. They don't say how like Zach helped save these women's careers or these actors' careers.
Yeah.
And
Like,
also
Amy Adams was really outspoken when Christopher Nolan like treated her like shit on American Hustle, right? But on the other hand, she just turns around and says,
It wasn't Christopher Nolan, but I can't remember his name. But I know exactly who you're talking about.
It wasn't Christopher Nolan, I know, but like it was someone.
Yeah, I can't remember his name, but
yeah, she was pretty outspoken about like being treated badly by whichever
David O. Russell.
director
That was his name.
What's his name?
What was it?
David O. Russell,
Thank you.
the guy who directed Silver
Thank
Linings
you.
Playbook and all that. Yeah.
Yeah, but yeah, so like apparently she was treated really badly by him, and she did call him out publicly for it. But then, on the other hand, she says like all the actresses always say he's really respectful and like he brings energy to set, and like he's always really excited, and you can like see that in the way he is in public as well. You know, it's not just like.
The way Amy phrased it, was that it was hard for her to watch the media pound on him and beat on him and act like he was such a horrible person because he's such a soft and kind guy, And I'm like, oh, look, he is Superman, Yeah.
I just feel so bad for the guy. I hope he gets a break, and that's why, like, I hope, because we were talking earlier, that maybe he does get Flashpoint, or maybe gets another, or maybe does Man of Steel 2. Just keep him in the family, because then it goes to show Warner Brothers, like, even though I wish they would do a little more to defend the guy, they're still they were there for him when he needed them, like they didn't just drop him, like they for Justice League when everything happened with Autumn, they offered him, they said, hey, we'll push off the release for you to take the time that you need to do what you need to do to help your family. And Zach was the one who said no, like it's just a movie, my family needs me. I'll bring in.
Well, and I don't want to do that to the fans, he said, But I mean, that's a huge tentpole, gigantic revenue film, and they're offering to push it back.
That's
you know what I mean?
Something you hear every day.
I'm sorry, like I know, I picture all the kind of studios as soulless, money-grubbing bastards, and they'd be like, "Yeah, we don't really care if your daughter died, but we got to get this movie out on time because we need the money," And so, I'm sorry, but that's how I picture a lot of other studios. And this one's like, "No, we can push that back if you want," And he's the one going, "No, I don't want to do that to the fans,"
And we appreciate it, but we would have waited.
Yeah.
Yeah, and like, granted, like, it would have people would have been like on him for it, but like I would have been okay if it took like a month or two, however long Warner Brothers was willing to push it for.
Yeah.
I would have been fine with it because again, the guy lost his daughter, his own flesh and blood, and people keep forgetting that because they're just like, oh, thank God Joss Whedon's here. Oh, screw Zack Snyder. He was never a good choice. Like,
people.
it pisses me off so much.
I just get some perspective and have some respect. And you're right. Had they pushed the deadline back, I'd have been like, what? No, I don't want to wait. But the second they gave me the reason, I'd have been like, yeah, that's cool. Take all the time you need. That's fine.
Yeah, and like honestly, like I remember like when the day that all of that was announced, I heard the news and I went into work and I felt awful. Like it felt like I don't even know Zach on a personal level, and I felt for him so much. I went into work and I was like, I was on the verge of crying at work for someone who I don't even really know because I felt his pain. Like it was.
Yes, feel that tragedy. It was terrible, absolutely terrible.
And I felt bad because no, like I felt bad because like I immediately my thoughts went to, oh god, there's gonna be a huge fan backlash and it's gonna be awful, and then it just made me feel even worse because like on one hand I'm grieving for Zack for going through such a terrible loss, but on the other hand I'm also grieving about the fact that like the movie's gonna take such a huge blow for it because of all the controversy that's gonna come from it. Like luckily it wasn't as bad as it could have been, I think. Like a lot more people were sensitive about it than I anticipated.
Same. Yeah,
it was still pretty bad to watch people like say things that they did. And treat Zack the way they did. Like, okay.
Yep. I think in the end, I think what I want most is I just want Zack to understand and know and hear from the people who actually do give a crap about his films and love them, that we're out here and that his work matters to us and that it's appreciated. And so I can't remember who it was, but when somebody started that movement last year and started collecting letters to be sent, they made it into a book, to get to him. I was like, heck yeah, sign me up, because it's like they need that. They need that kind of positive response where they get feedback of, we love your movie, we see what you're doing, we find it, something that inspires us and moves us, and he needs to know that, because I get so sick and tired of all the negative crap, and they need to know that what they do matters, even if the media just wants to portray it otherwise. Yeah. So
again, and that's what I love at the time. The We Stand with Zack Snyder. All of that whole movement. It's just like that's why I made this post the other day. But seriously, like the DCEU fandom, I think is one of the best fandoms to be a part of. I'm not including the people who go on and saying like, "Oh, fuck Marvel," like Marvel sucks. Like I'm talking about the people who like create a positive environment for us to just be able to talk about this stuff and be loving and positive to each other. Like I've noticed since Wonder Woman, there's been so many more DCEU fans like coming on and noticing these movies and like talking about them more, and that's such an awesome thing. Like, I know some people like, oh, I liked Wonder Woman, but I didn't necessarily love Batman vs Superman. That's fine, that's great, but like you're including yourself in the fandom and being positive and just like it's hard to explain, but it's just such an awesome place to be a part of, and I'm always thankful to be a part of this thing with you guys, because it's just. I've never experienced a fandom like this. Like, anytime I go on in like the DC TV tags or like any comment boards or whatever, like there's so much hate back and forth from the people who love the show, but there's so much hate back and forth. For fans of the DCEU, we're all civil. We're all like, it's a positive environment to be in, and it wouldn't be that way without Zack, and people don't understand that, and I feel so bad for the guy, because he created an environment for all of us to come together and just be ourselves and and create this conversation about these films, and again allowing us to geek out about all this stuff. And a guy who was just trying to make films did that, and the media and the way they portray him as such an awful person just because he made movies that people don't like is so ridiculous, and it's so frustrating, because again, much like with Superman, he's like a guy who's just trying to do the right thing by just making movies that people like.
Exactly. Well, and he's just he's following his own passion and his own, beliefs and his own, love of these characters, and there's never anything wrong with that, even if it's something that you personally watch and go, that's not my cup of tea, and so I agree. In the end, putting out movies that's just you following your passion and your love for something shouldn't bring so much amazing hate, down on you. And unfortunately, I think this is what happens when there's a long established tradition or other iterations of the same character. Because in the end, as always, people get that ideal built up into their head of what theirs should be like. And when other people's differ, then they take it almost as a personal insult, and they have to come out swinging.
Yeah.
And like if he made stories like this and they were with brand new original characters, I don't think, like, there would still be divided response, I think, and there would still be people who are like, I love this, and other people are like, meh, I don't really like it.
Sucker
But
punch.
there would be far less vitriol about it and hatred, you know. Sucker Punch, I feel like, okay, you do have a point there, you know, like, it's so weird because, again, they're like, oh, it's gonna be a movie about girls who kick serious butt and dress skimpy. I am here for this. And then they show up and it is
like
that,
yelling at nerds for
but
2
it's
hours
not
straight.
that, you know. And it's, again, yeah, right, it's all about, you know, the women and their strength and their character, and oh, look, they're real people, and well, I was just here for violence and flesh, like, what are you giving to me here? And so it's so weird because they just, and then they come out and they're like, well, that was the biggest, oh gosh, you know, misogynist piece of crap I've ever seen in my life. And it's like, but you missed the whole
Point, yeah.
It is the weirdest thing. I just don't understand. So, but I guess you're right. You know, like, maybe it doesn't truly apply to original characters, but I do think that he's trying to present, like, and explore different things inside these characters that have been beloved for years, and that makes it harder. That makes it much more difficult. But maybe it's just the way he presents his stories. But you know what? I love the way he presents his stories. Like,
Me too.
It's so much more fascinating and nuanced and interesting. Oh my gosh, like, we spent hours here picking it apart, looking at it, loving it. Just the other day, like, you know, we were like, holy crap, never even noticed that in Man of Steel. What? How long's that been out now? Like, that is so cool to me, and that's kind of what I'm here for. I'm not here nearly as much for the basic popcorn fare, just because it's nice and enjoyable at the time, but I like to pull things apart and look at all their different layers and stuff, and he does that beautifully. And so, I don't know, maybe it's just the way Zach does his stuff, but you know what, the rest of the world can suck it, because I love his stuff. And I would just want to make sure that he knows that, you know. That's like it. I want to send him letters. I just want to, like, hey, by the way, you know, I love your stuff. Don't get discouraged because there's a bunch of hate out there.
So it's just
I do, like, I spend a lot of time thinking about, like, how you could possibly adjust any of Zack Snyder's movies to make it more easily understood, because, you know, like, being misunderstood by his audience, or at least, like, the lowest common denominator audience is, like, Zack's biggest problem with his film career, right? But, like, I like approach this movie sometimes and I go, okay, how could you have adjusted this scene so that people would understand it better? Like, for example, the Martha scene, and like, the way I see it, like, there's nothing you could do to change the scene without in some way reducing the kind of amount of substance that he's baked into it, you know?
Yeah.
Like he's put, like, so much effort into, like, the visuals, the moment, like, the psychological realism and the script and every single part of it. Like, you know, all the King Arthur references, the PTSD flashbacks. Like, how do you portray the Martha scene with like, and show Batman having that same kind of PTSD breakdown without it becoming artificial or ham-fisted, because the way they did it was so true to reality.
Yeah.
And yet people missed it because maybe it wasn't what they expected. But if Batman were to do, like, what they would expect, then it would be less real. It would detract from the realism of it, right?
Yes.
Yeah.
And I
So,
think
like,
that's a lot of it. People missed it because they expect their media, their films, to just kind of hand it to them, you know, all spelled out, you know, because, like, he could have just said, yeah, you're killing my mother. But see, in the end, if he's thinking his mother, who's a kryptonite, would be like, crap, there's more of you? Oh, I gotta kill you even faster now, you know, and, you know, or he could, you know, what do you mean, and stuff like that. It would have been far more clunky and weird, and instead, I agree, the realism is there, because all Bruce could think about was his mother, you know, with the same name, and he freaked out. He completely lost it I mean, it was really cool because it was exactly that. And he even looks to the side like, is this a trick? Is this a diversion? Is this, how does he know my mother's name? Surely that is something he's using against me. And so, that to me, I agree. That made it far more real. That was the scene that played out in my head over and over and over again after I watched it the first time. I remember going to bed, I laid down and closed my eyes, and it was like, that is the coolest freaking scene, and it's just so real. Look how beautiful. And so I was shocked and amazed that people wanted to then bash it later. I was like, excuse you?
Yeah, I was like, how do you hate this film?
I just feel like so much of the media, there's so many different reasons that come into why people don't like this, but I do think that that's a lot of it too. They expect to be spoon-fed it, and it's just not. And he refuses to do that. That's just not how he functions. And honestly, I respect that because it's so easy to descend into spoon feeding. I find it myself, even in my stories. I'm like, so I should spell this out. And then I'm like, what if I don't spell it out? What if I just leave it what it is and let them, figure it out for themselves? Would they do that? Or would they then go, that's the stupidest story ever, and leave me a bad comment and go? I don't know. And so I really respect that he just, no, this is how I do things. And I love that because it really does force us to one up. It forces us to move up in our watching and go, okay, this is a Zach film. I got to really pay attention, and I got to think about it. And I might even have to come back for another viewing before I fully understand everything. And that's okay.
Catch all the small stuff, small details and Easter eggs and all that.
Yeah,
I love that. I look for that.
Oh yeah, this is the kind of stuff though that years later, people in literature classes do. They read the big heavy books with the big symbolism and all the kind of stuff and the metaphor that's not spoon-fed to you, and then we pull it out and dissect it and figure it out and do all that kind of stuff. And they spend an entire college class doing this. And this is the kind of stuff he's giving us. It's just in a movie form, and everybody else is expecting, well, I sit down with my popcorn, I have a great old time. They give it all to me. They just spell it right out, and then I go home and go, that was cool, or I hated it, and he just doesn't do that. And I don't know. I love that approach though, because it speaks to me. It might not speak to the entire world. It speaks to me. I'm trying to think. We've hit the mustache.
Yeah, we hit the mustache. We talked about Zach. I don't know, because I feel like. Oh, so I don't know if you guys saw, because I sent in this picture in the group chat, but earlier today, Alan Ritchson, who played Aquaman in Smallville, just responded to, I think his name's J-Roar on Twitter. He's a YouTuber and stuff, a big DCEU fan and stuff. And he responded to a tweet because if you look at the Shazam from the DCEU intro, and that was on the thing that was on display at Comic-Con, Shazam looks an awful lot like him. And he responded to it. I'm trying to find the exact tweet of what he said. And so he was just like, okay, so here's the thing. Hold on, I have a call coming in, BRB. So I don't know what that means, if he's gonna end up playing Shazam.
Excuse you. You're right, he could have been just making a great joke of, look, it looks like me. Oh, they're calling me to offer me the part, and it could be entirely a joke.
It could be.
Or it could be an amazing amount of trolling. All these actors have got to seriously, it's guys, stop playing games with us.
Yep.
Put it out there, man. Give us the truth or don't talk, because you're killing us
here.
Yeah. Yeah.
So we haven't got a casting announcement for Shazam, right?
Yeah. No, not
yet.
Okay, they just said they were doing the movie. We haven't, and they're not truly in production yet. So okay.
Yeah, the only casting we've got is Dwayne The Rock Johnson.
Yeah, and even then it's not official.
Which has been forever.
And then and then it came out last week that he's not even gonna be Black Adam in the Shazam movie anymore. So he's gonna be for a standalone. It's we already kind of talked about it, but it's just they spent years teasing that, and then now it's not gonna happen. It's happening, but it's not in the Shazam movie, which doesn't make sense. I don't know. It's
I'm figuring hopefully things are starting to take shape. They did their announcement, and then as they started to settle into their narrative, it was oh wait, we're gonna end up doing it like this. Hopefully that means they've got a plan and they know what they're doing.
I don't really see how Shazam really fits into the bigger narrative. Of course he's a member of the Justice League, but he's not so central to the story that they bring him in so early.
Okay, I'm gonna claim uber dork newbie here. I've seen maybe a few comic panels, but am I correct in the fact that Shazam is more of a child figure who was given or
Yeah. So like,
somebody
so like,
powers. Is this correct?
Yeah, so like an ancient
he's like
wizard
12
granted
magic.
him the abilities of the god, so he has like the speed of some, like each, like Shazam. It's like an acronym for each. Like he gets an ability from the gods, like the power of Zeus.
Oh, that's cool.
He gets
Okay, because
all,
I'm thinking he's a kid and he's like, my name is Shazam, baby. You know.
Yeah. So by saying the word Shazam, he transforms from like a 12-year-old kid into like a 30-ish old Superman kind of character, and he's really fun. And,
but he has the mentality of a child, right?
Yeah. So he has.
It's fun watching him geek out over the Justice League.
Oh yeah, this could be a really fascinating. You're right. I can see the draw. Oh, what a neat story, you know.
Like if you ever want.
No, it's really funny when you see the cinema. When you see it in animated movies, or like in the Justice League animated series, when he is in Shazam character, and then he has interactions with the Justice League, and it's just really hilarious because then he has like the quips of a 13-year-old or however his age is in the version that you're watching, and they just look at him and like, wait, why would you say that? You're you're a grown man. Why would you say something like that? And then it's actually hilarious. Yeah, they only find out like super late.
Yeah,
I think it was in Young Justice when they had a meeting.
Oh yeah. They
yeah.
switch between the adult and kids.
No, it was an episode when they were reviewing whether Red Arrow should join the Justice League.
And then they were going over like Captain Marvel and the fact that he's a kid, and they kind of lied to them. Yeah.
And then and then what did Batman said? Oh, I've known from the beginning that he was a child, and everyone was like, "What?" Well, obviously you.
Batman pulls.
Yeah, of course, Batman.
It's so obvious. You didn't figure that out.
Batman's got like a lot of kid sidekicks.
What I like about Shazam is that Superman is his idol, and it is one of the reasons why his grown-up version looks a lot like Superman, because the kid doesn't know how he will look like when he will be old. So when he shut out Shazam, he transforms into a version of himself that he imagined, and he imagines himself to look like Superman.
That's cool.
And I hope that in Shazam solo movie we will see Henry Cavill's cameo and play a major part of Shazam's development.
That would be really, really cool.
Yeah. And
you're getting me excited. I admit. All right. Cool.
And it's funny if you ever want to see like a good adaptation of like his origin and stuff. There's a great animated movie called what's it called? Superman and Black. What is it called? It's like Superman Shazam: The Return of Black Adam. I would say it's probably like a 25 minute little short animated movie that was like attached to one of the other DC animated movies.
Okay.
And it basically gives like the origin of like Billy Batson and his turn into what at the time he was called Captain Marvel, but then DC changed their name because Marvel has Captain Marvel also.
So that reflected too much, Okay.
Yeah. So it's really good, and then like Superman's in it. He plays a role in it. It's really good. So if you ever want like a little more knowledge of who he is, I think that's a great place to start, because that essentially has kind of who the essence of who the character is and his origin. It's a really good little animated movie, and it's not very long. So I think it's worth checking out.
That sounds great. Very cool. Very cool. Yeah, that could be awesome.
Yeah, that's why I'm really glad that that they're able to do it like in the DCEU, and the director they got, I'm really happy with, because I really enjoyed Lights Out, the movie that he did last year. That was a nice little horror movie, and then he's that. It's funny because like they keep like James Wan is typically known for horror, and they bring in this guy who worked with James Wan on a couple of different horror movies to do these characters, but they're also, I think it's this completely to any DC or Marvel, whatever, just like finding directors who could tell good stories is always going to be a win no matter what. So in James Wan and David F. Sandberg, they've told great stories in their movies. They're not like their movies are good because they have good stories. They're not good because they're just horror movies that makes them good. There's a lot of bad horror movies out there. The reason why their movies work is because you care about the characters, you care about the story, but it's wrapped in like the cocoon of a horror movie. Yeah. So to get directors like that who are able to tell a story above anything else, I think that's what makes them stand out above other people. Is that like they're able to tell stories within the medium that makes them stand out, and not just be like they just make typical horror movies. They don't. They kind of go above and beyond what's known as typical in their genre. And I hope they do the same thing with Aquaman and Shazam, because I think with those two characters, James Wan, first of all, for everything we know about what he's doing with Aquaman, I can't wait for. Like, I'm so excited to see what he does, and especially I love his Conjuring movies. And
I'm gonna start geeking out over Aquaman now. Oh my god, I'm like the Aquaman fangirl. I'm supposed to be a Batman fangirl, but now I'm an Aquaman fangirl too. But yeah, I totally agree with like what. Sorry, I just cut you off. Continue.
Yeah, I can't wait for James Wan's Aquaman. It's funny because like for a while,
it's gonna be
before I really knew much about Jason Momoa, I just knew him as the guy who played Conan, and I never saw that movie. I just knew that people didn't like it, so I'm like, at the time when he was announced, I'm like, I wasn't 100% sure. But everything I've seen from him and everything he's done, he just seems like such the right fit for this kind of Aquaman that they're trying to tell, and the fact that it's not just a blonde white guy playing the role.
Yeah.
Coming from a blonde white guy, I'm
I know what you say about storytellers. That is entirely what I think. I don't know. That's what I love about the DCEU is that they have amazing directors who can tell a beautiful story inside a genre. And so if they're amazing storytellers in the horror genre, then why can't they just come on over and be amazing storytellers in a superhero genre? And that is exactly what I am here for. So I agree. I think they're finding good directors, and I think that they're putting together a really amazing universe, and it's quite exciting because like even like Shazam, I'm like here's the thing, like I don't even know this character because I'm not that far into comic books and stuff like that, but like when in the world are you ever going to see a live action full feature film version of that? Like they're getting really deep into the mythos and all the comics and stuff, way deeper than typical, and that's really exciting and really cool. And I know so many comic fans on Tumblr who are freaking out because they're like, dude, I've dreamed of this for years, like my whole life. I've been like, oh, what would it be so cool if they made a movie, but they would never do it. And here they are just pulling all sorts of bits out and going, yeah, let's make all this a universe. And that's really, really cool. So it's kind of... It is a great time to be alive, and it's an amazing kind of once in a lifetime, once in a billion years occurrence, and it's really exciting.
Yeah, sorry, I missed that whole thing. My fiance called about wanting breakfast.
That's okay.
Yeah, what were you guys talking about?
Shazam.
Oh, yeah.
No, it's just really exciting to see all the different live action films that they are announcing, that they are truly pulling so much of the DC mythos and the years of comic books, and a lot of like Shazam I think is more obscure because me as a mainstream consumer, I'm like, who's that? I don't know that guy.
Yeah, not a lot of people
people who really love comics are like, ooh, we know who that is, and so it's exciting to see them pull something like that out and be like, yeah, let's make a movie out of that. Like people's dreams are coming true because they've never thought that would ever happen, that a studio would be like, yeah, sure, let's put money into that. And so it's really exciting to see them pulling out the less known and making them more mainstream. So that's really exciting.
Yeah, I'm just excited for the entire DCEU.
Sorry.
Go ahead.
No, I was just gonna say I'm still waiting for that Martian Manhunter thing. I know we were talking about it last night.
Yes, and he's a character that for whatever reason DC is like shy to do in the movies. Like we've seen him in Smallville, we've seen him in Supergirl, and I think those are fine interpretations of the character, and I love the actors who have played them. But I would like to see what a movie universe version that fits into this DCEU would look like.
I agree. I think I'm not, but if I was the studio, I would really want to find just the right story for him. I mean, and it could be original or otherwise, but like I hear too many people, and I'm barely on the edges of comic fandom, say, well, he's basically just Superman, but he's green, because he's got similar powers. And I know he's got other powers.
He really isn't.
Superman doesn't. But this is the thing, is that they need to find an amazing story that showcases him, and his powers and his, character and his backstory and everything about him, in order for everybody to go, oh yeah, okay, no, he's not just Green Superman, cool. And so as long as, if they're taking their time to find that right story, I'll wait for it.
Yeah,
I hope that they are doing that and not going, yeah, we're not going to touch that guy. Please go ahead, give us a great story, but make it a really good story that's all about him and really helps to kind of show us who he is. That would be really cool.
Yeah, it really would
thing
be.
with
dude.
Martian
There's a lot
Manhunter.
of potential there for like social commentary. Like, okay, I know we're trying to avoid that from movies right now to avoid all the controversy, but like DCEU so far has had like small history of being just really relevant and really just really on the like on the dot about like the kind of issues that it comments on. I mean, Martian Manhunter, there's like a lot of potential for different stories, like, you know, for there's the whole alien thing again, and even in like in Martian Manhunter's case, he can literally choose to blend in, even though his original appearance is so far removed from what like humans look like as compared to like Superman, who actually looks like one of us. It's like a completely different sphere of like of possible experiences to talk about. And then like there's the whole race issue with the Martians, like the whole Miss Martian thing.
Yeah, like the white Martians, green Martians, all that. Yeah.
And
Like,
that's the
there's
thing
a lot
when
of
he
potential.
chooses, oh, sorry. So
Yeah,
when
yeah.
he chooses to be a human being, as all the versions that I've seen him be is a black man.
Yeah.
So he's always trying to relate to the people in society that, you know,
The
get it first.
minorities.
So Martian Manhunter is absolutely incredible. I love Martian Manhunter. I think he's
too.
one of the top 5 that I live in the DC universe, and I think he's not at all the same as Superman. I don't know why people would say that, because he's a lot. He doesn't use his powers as much as Superman as well. He likes to use them, but not to the degree
low-key,
that
Yeah.
especially like they can say that he has the flight and the strength that Superman does as well, but the main thing that I would focus on if I was to do Martian Manhunter is his telepathy, his ability to move through objects
His
without
shape
destroying them.
shifter.
Because if you see Superman, if he wants to move through a building, he'd literally have to smash through it, whereas Martian Manhunter could like
He
fly
just phased through
through
it. Yeah.
everything.
Yeah,
And
well,
I think-
and on the same line, he can change his appearance to blend, you know, and so everything about him is more about kind of moving around and through and not like. You're right. He just
Yes, I
kind of
agree with you,
blends
Katie.
with them.
It's
So
Katie, right?
he's a much
Yeah.
more different, subtle kind of thing, and I love his telepathy idea. I saw one episode of the animated Justice League where he was like burned out on that, and there was too
love
much
that
around him, and
show.
he was seeing too much of the badness of humanity, and it took him going out in the woods and getting some solace, and then listening to the rescuers and people looking for a little girl to kind of rebuild his faith. And I was like, oh, so you know, like really, there's beautiful potential there, I think, for an awesome story, but I would want to make sure they do it right and not just go, just check that one out.
Yeah, I'll wait.
You know,
No,
so
I 100%
Give me
agree with you. I
something.
can wait for that, and the way that you said that they should find the exact right story that would resonate with the current things that are going on. So yeah, I do agree on the whole thing with social commentary as well, and I know people hate it when a movie is trying to be socially woke as well, but I think he is a really great character, and I can't wait to have him be on the big screen.
Me too. Yeah.
that'd be really awesome.
Yeah, oddly enough, like if they were ever to do like a Martian Manhunter standalone, and I know the director of Flash is already gone, but if Rick Famuyiwa, who directed Dope, ever comes back to the DCU in any capacity, I think Martian Manhunter might be, or even Cyborg would be great places to take those characters, because if you look at the movie Dope, that's a lot of social commentary in it. I mean, it's a fun like coming of age story, but there's a lot of social commentary in it. And if you can get a director who can kind of do that, but also have fun with the story, and I think Rick Famuyiwa is a great director for that. If they were to ever do a standalone for Martian Manhunter, or if he was ever to come back to the DCEU, maybe do Cyborg, I think he'd be a good fit, because the DCEU, I think, they're willing to take those risks in terms of their characters. You know, like Batman vs Superman was a controversial movie. I know, like they say they're trying to make a more lighthearted universe, but I think DC is still kind of willing to take those risks with their stories. I think that's one of the reasons why they greenlit Flashpoint. You know, because Flashpoint obviously isn't a huge like social commentary kind of thing, but it's such a controversial story in terms of its its darkness and the things it's trying to say about the Flash and just how the darker universe could be. But I personally think that DC, if they have the opportunity to, I would love to see what their take on Martian Manhunter would be like.
Yeah, me too.
Oh, yeah.
And him being in the Justice League and how he'd get along with Clark and all that stuff. That'd be great to see.
You know, in some ways I can see why they haven't brought him on yet, though, in terms of the Justice League, just because this, as we're starting to put together, you know, this trilogy basically is all about Superman and his arc, and truly kind of arriving at that point where he is Superman, has embraced it in every way, shape, and form, and the world has in turn embraced him. And we're still waiting for that third movement on this, but like until that story is finished, bringing in other people and kind of seeing how they work in the Justice League together, or their dynamics and that kind of stuff, is less of a focus and should be, you know, until we get to this final point, you know. So I'm actually really fascinated to see where they go after Justice League in terms of Justice League. Like they always said they were going to do a second one, but they were kind of standalone, you know. And then you've got all the other movies too, and how are they going to move the characters in and out, and you know, how much focus are they going to have or not have in terms of stuff like that. And that could be really, really cool. I'm fascinated to see where they go with that after we get to the end of Justice League and they're kind of established, and the world has figured out that they want Superman, you know.
Yeah.
And so it's I don't know, I'm really excited, and I think there's great potential, and I'm really interested to see where they go from that. But first, I need my Superman back. So if they go
first
ahead,
and foremost,
just give me some Justice League, and you know, blow me away, and give me some awesome sauce, you know, and have him return and all is good. Well, then, yeah, okay, then let's go forward. So I just need it to be November really badly. So
yeah, me too.
Yeah. All right, guys.
I just realized I might not be able to watch Justice League because I'm taking my A levels in that it'll be throughout the whole month of November.
Yeah.
Wait, what?
Not okay.
You have A levels? Sorry, where are you?
I'm
Which country
from
are you
Singapore. So I'm doing the A level system. Yeah.
Oh, how come A levels are in November? Oh, because I have A levels in the UK, but A levels are usually throughout the summer. We don't have A levels in December either.
No, because that's
system?
my school term is from January to November. Yeah.
Oh right. Do you get? Wait, is Singapore in the southern hemisphere?
Yeah, equator.
So you're like Australia, where your summer is from November to like December.
Yeah, something like that.
Oh right, yeah, right, okay, fair enough. Ouch, that will be a bit annoying, but I suppose you can like have a few hours as a break. Do you start with your revision a few hours earlier for Justice League?
It's when us Americans are like, what are they talking about?
They'll do a spoiler-free version, so that you can contribute, or you know, we'll figure something out, and then you know, once you've seen it, we'll go completely batty, and I'm sure it'll be 6 hours. And
that's gonna be a fun that's gonna be a fun podcast to do once that happens.
Oh yeah, I'm freaking out.
Yeah. All right, guys. Unfortunately, it's time for me to go. Thank you guys for doing this.
Thank you so much. Sorry,
Take care, Nick.
Popping in and out.
Oh, no, it's fine. It's fine. It's no problem. So I'll talk to you guys soon, and thanks, everyone. So I'll talk to you guys soon. All right, for everyone listening, thank you so much. If you guys like what you see here, go ahead and hit subscribe below. I do content like this all the time. You can listen to our previous episodes. Last week, we did a full breakdown of the Justice League trailers. You guys can check those out. Earlier in the episode, everyone in the podcast group kind of reintroduced themselves. You guys can find them on social media if you guys go back to the beginning of the episode. Again, thank you guys for listening, and until next time, have a good one.